Doug, yeah, back to you, mate.
Yeah, what's the Winelands part of your title? What does that mean?
That was a mistake, I can honestly say, because now people expect that they can sit and drink wine on the train, which it's not. Because it is a family entertainment park, the area has actually been zoned for no alcohol. So I've sort of shot myself in the foot. But the winelands, if you say winelands in South Africa, people know that it is Stellenbosch and Paarl area. So the photograph behind you, there's mountains in the background there. They are covered in vineyards. Across the road from us is a cellar, for example. Next door to us is a winemaker. So it's all very winey sort of area, not complainy winey, drinky winey, if you know what I mean. So that's the winelands.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, that's a funny name for a children's theme park.
Well, I might end up running the train to the farm next door one day and having a wine stop there. So, that's also an option.
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah.
Fair.
That's amazing. So good. I can't wait to get over there. I hope we can get over there one day and, come visit it, because I think it'd just be an incredible sight.
Sure. The whole area is very touristy, so there's a lot to see and a lot to do. Yeah. And that's specifically why we brought it here. There was nothing like it in the Western Cape. And that is why we came here. We've got the tourist numbers. It's one of the big hotspots for international visitors. And I think most people enter and exit South Africa via Cape Town. So it's the place to be.
Wow, that's amazing, man. It really is. So good.
So, yeah, what started your fascination with trains?
I can't tell you because nobody can pinpoint it. I think if you are obsessed with trains from a young age, there is no defined point where you can say, I saw something here and something happened. As far back as I can remember, I was just drawing trains. I mean, I think my preschool teachers used to write reports saying, Andries is an okay kid, but he really needs to stop talking about trains because that's all he talks about. So, yes, I was that kid. Unfortunately, in this country, particularly at this point in time, post-pandemic era, almost all of the tourist steam operations have ground to a halt. They're only just restarting now. There's one big operation that I'm normally involved in that's been going throughout the pandemic times, and they're still going strong, and a few others that have now started up. But other than that, there are no opportunities for a young person to get involved with steam locomotives. And all I wanted to do was be on a steam engine because there's just something about it. It's not a diesel or a motor car that just turns at the click of a switch. It's something that takes many hours to bring to life. And once it is alive, it requires you to look after it. So there's something special about it that anybody that's interested in these sorts of machines can tell you. It gives you goosebumps if you think about it. So to try and get my addiction or my steam fix, it ended up being very large miniature steam locomotive, something that I could handle myself and could ultimately put together. I would have liked to have gone bigger. I might still go bigger in the future, but for now, this is the scale that we're building on, 1/3 narrow gauge on 7.25-inch gauge track. The biggest engine we've got here weighs 1.4 tons. It was built by a friend of mine. In fact, the same guy that built the engine in the background to you there, Doug. Got 5 of his locomotives here. Him and his dad, Sarel Viljoen, started something very similar to what I've built here many years ago, but stopped for various reasons. Sarel also passed away. Charles is pretty old now. And whenever I go and visit him, I go and look at his engines. And whilst I was building this track, I explained to him what I was doing. And he said, next time you come, bring a trailer and take it away. So I've been carting engines out of his workshop. I think there's 12 in total in his backyard, covered in plastic sails and so on. So it has an opportunity to live here, which is the most important thing to me. We enjoy, as train builders, we enjoy making these things. That is my entertainment. But it just, at the end of it, it needs to do something in order to justify its existence. And because it's pretty expensive to put these things together, it's not just something you can put together in and let it rot away. It needs to go somewhere, and it needs to do something. Because like owning an expensive vintage car, or a collector's piece of Lego, or whatever you want to call it, I find it almost disgusting that if it sits on a shelf and that just you look at it, surely you want to share it with everybody else and watch other people enjoy it. And that's the second part of this business. Whenever we're having a tough time, or you've got a pain in your knee, or something bad happens, after a weekend of running, invariably somebody will send us a photograph of a kid blowing the whistle, of their kid blowing the whistle at the park, and you could just see the excitement on their faces. So it serves a purpose that is greater than just me or what I want in life. I want stuff to make other people happy, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's
great.
Yeah, it is, isn't it, Doug? Like you just get excited about it. It's like when you said just having that classic car sitting in the garage, and you take it out every now and again. I understand that, but it's a waste in one respect. Like you've got to make sure that, like Jay Leno does, he's involved in groups where he gets out and shows his vehicles. Like I was driving around LA one day and I saw this incredible. I heard this noise. I'm into motorcycles and bikes and hot cars and trains, and your ear's always picking up. And I heard this.
Absolutely.
It was I thought, what on earth is that? It was in a side street in Burbank. So I did a bit of a U-turn and went down this alleyway, and here's this massive car, big V8, one of these like real old vintage things with the big exhaust pipes coming out through the engine bay, running alongside the car, and here's Jay Leno in it. So he's driving down the main road, and I get up beside him and I'm videoing him and saying hello to him, and he's laughing, waving at me, going, "Hi, how you doing?" And he's just like a little kid. And that's sort of what this does to you. Even though I'm not in the railways now, I get the goosebumps when I stand on the platform and I hear a steam engine coming. That to me is just like, it's just breathing life and power, and it's just amazing. It's such an incredible machine. And I will dive off track a little bit here. You did send us a video, which Doug, I think, has put up on the platform. You were actually on a real live full size steam engine driving it. Now, how did that come about?
So I started volunteering at this particular railway over 10 years ago, and it is run by a bunch of old volunteers, but as far as the steam crew is concerned, it's probably one of the youngest steam crews in the country that run this. So it is a very strenuous job. So you start off basically lighting up the locomotive on a Saturday evening, because it takes about 8 hours to get hot. So you stay up all night shoveling coal every hour or so to make sure that it's hot, and then all of the next day you spend shoveling coal to keep it hot and to keep it running. So it started off there. Obviously, you progress through the stages. The longer you go, the more experience you get. And ultimately, the goal is to drive this thing. So I have the absolute privilege of being allowed to have driven these trains a few times. And it's not just a case of getting on a machine and driving it like a car. I'd like to try and relate to the same sort of experience a pilot would have flying a very large passenger jet, for example, because it's not just you on the train. There's 300 other people on board as well. So you basically have the responsibility of a ship's captain or a pilot, and you have to look after these people. At the same time, you have to look after this thundering big machine that just wants to run over everything. And I mean, you can barely see out the window. It's a tiny little window and an extremely long boiler. And on a cold day, when you're blowing the whistle, hitting for a level crossing, you can almost see absolutely nothing. It's just steam everywhere. So it's terrifying at the same time, but it is ultimately the most unbelievable experience I think you can have on this planet. I've driven fast cars and I've flown planes now and speedboats. I've not piloted a rocket ship yet, but if Elon phones me one day, maybe I'll give it a bash. But as far as power is concerned, if you sit in a chair in a car and you floor it, it pushes you back. If you do the same in an airplane, it pushes your stomach down. But if you do it in a steam locomotive, it pushes you down and back at the same time, and the chair is going up, and it's rocking from side to side. It's spitting char in your face. Everything's on fire. There's oil everywhere. It's dirty and mucky and horrible, and it's the best experience in the world.
Sounds like a very spiritual experience.